So I'm clicking the recording button and welcome to Professional Development Webinar 11, Get This Right, with Joelle and Christians. And I hope that all our teachers are having wonderful vacation and still they have time to contribute to their professional development. And I would like to introduce our speaker today, Joelle Christians. And Joelle is the co-founder of Get This Right. She has a bachelor degree in English as a second language and Spanish, and master degree in psycholinguistics and bilingual education. Joelle has taught ESL for over 30 years, and she is a member of TESOL International. And also Joelle is a member and past president of Wisconsin TESOL. And Joelle has extensive experience in program administration, testing, teacher training, and curriculum development. And also I would like to introduce Cheryl. Actually, how I found those speakers, I met Cheryl personally at TESOL convention in Chicago. And Cheryl and Joelle agreed to present today for you their product Get This Right. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining our webinars, for helping our teachers develop themselves. And before we start, I would like to announce some rules for those who joined us today for the first time. So as there are 14 participants today, and I'm sure there will be more. Yes, hello, everyone. I'm trying to monitor the chat at the same time. If there is some background noise coming from your home or your office, I'm going to mute you. But if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself when we give special time for the questions. So Joelle also would like to ask you to ask questions at the end of the presentation. But if you have a question, you can write your question in the chat, and then I will read it to Joelle when she provides special time for the questions. Also, I would like to remind you about the keywords. So KASTI, Kazakh Association of English Teachers in Kazakhstan, will provide you with a certificate of attendance of this webinar only if you have been personally present at this webinar. And Joelle will be saying some keywords, actually 3 of them, throughout the whole webinar, one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end. You can still watch the recording of this webinar at YouTube, but you will not find any keywords there. But to get a certificate, you will have to provide those keywords in the feedback form that we will send to you after the webinar. So please take your time to complete the feedback form, to provide the keywords, and also to provide feedback and questions to our speaker. If you don't have a chance to ask your question today, or you come up with some other question, maybe after some time, you can still write it in the feedback form. I will make sure Joelle receives this question and will provide you with a follow-up on that. So thank you so much, Joelle, for agreeing to present for us today. And now I will give the floor to you, and welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to say good morning, but I will say good evening because we are in very different time zones. I'm honored to be here today. I want to share with you how sentence writing practice helped my students overcome their insecurity and their lack of ability of writing to become better sentence writers in English. This can happen for your students too. When we speak to someone in our first language or in another language, we hope that the person we're speaking to will understand us. We hope that they will forgive and forget whatever errors we make in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. And if they don't understand us, we can repeat, reword, or answer questions of clarification. But writing, that's different. Once our words are committed to paper or to a screen, they are permanent. They are public and available for criticism. And people make judgments about us by the mistakes they see in our writing. Today's world demands more writing than ever before. We text, email, chat, and instant message with our phones and our computers. In school, students take notes, they take tests, and they write reports. Professionals spend up to 6 hours of each workday writing and responding to more than 120 emails. It seems impossible, but it's true. In addition to writing other communiques and reports, they are spending less and less time talking face-to-face or on the telephone and using writing as the principal means of communication. Poor writing can cause companies to lose deals and can create confusion. And poor writing can also reflect badly on a company. So companies spend billions of dollars to train their employees in basic writing skills. How can we as teachers help our students improve their basic writing skills so they are better prepared for school and for work? That's a challenging question because teachers are expected to do so much in the classroom. It isn't easy to be faced with students who have different educational backgrounds or learn at different rates or have different abilities. Even high-level students have gaps in their use of English grammar, punctuation, capitalization, and spelling. How can teachers find and create activities that support their students on an individual basis and help them develop good writing habits? I've asked myself that question many times. I'd like to show you a sample of my students' writing. And if you will bear with me for just one moment. And can you see my writing sample, Yelena?
Yeah, I can.
Good.
When did you leave
Okay.
before you came to?
This is an example of a writing sample from one of my students. I always ask them for writing samples at the beginning of a course so I know where we're starting. And I use a simple prompt like asking them to describe where they lived before they came to Milwaukee, which is my city. Let's just take a minute to look at the writing of this student. Here's a second student. And a third student. These three students were in the same class of 26 students, different languages, different backgrounds, but they were all placed together in the same writing class because they had similar oral skills. My job was to teach them paragraph writing. And I learned very quickly by looking at their writing samples that we couldn't start with paragraphs because sentences needed a lot of work. You can see that their content of their answers addresses the prompt that I gave them, but they have very different abilities to use the language, and their needs were very different. So again, I asked myself the question, how could I help each of them at their individual level and take them forward to a stronger writing competence? As a student, I enjoyed writing, but teaching writing was my greatest professional fear because I didn't know how to help students like those whose work you just saw. They were at varied levels and in the same class, and I couldn't pretend that they were the same and ask them to do the same things. I found textbooks and internet materials that addressed the literacy level and also the paragraph development level. But I had a hard time finding materials for basic sentence writing. Between those two levels, I found materials in print and online that all of you, I'm sure, have seen. They're called writing practice, and they are exercises that ask for students to match or unscramble the words, to fill in the blank, or answers sentences with multiple choice answers. We give them to students to practice writing, and then we ask them to write complete sentences or complete paragraphs. And this doesn't seem fair because we haven't given them practice with complete sentences, just fill in the blank. Very few activities ask students to write complete sentences to form good habits. Now, Yelena, I'm going to ask for a moment here because I've lost my...
It's okay, and I will mute some participants because there is some background noise. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're in the same position here. Okay, is my face on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't want it there. All right. So let me share. Okay. So because of the difficulty I had in finding materials that were appropriate for my students, a colleague and I began to develop writing activities that focused on topics our students had difficulty with in their sentence writing. These activities allowed for the diverse level of education and ability among our students. And this was the beginning of this program we call Get This Right. This practice isn't intended to substitute for group instruction that focuses on paragraph type or paragraph development. Students need teachers for this, but students can work on their own time to improve their sentence construction and build a solid foundation for paragraph writing. And at the same time, students overcome their fears and discover that they are capable of writing good English sentences. Get This Right is a self-paced, self-checking program on the internet that gives students practice in writing good sentences. Students do not create the sentences. They practice material that focuses on English grammar, capitalization, punctuation, and spelling. There are many benefits for students by using this program. It develops their confidence as they improve their sentence writing competence. Studying rules and examples, as well as directions for each activity, challenges them to read more carefully. They improve their ability to self-edit, besides strengthening critical thinking skills. In addition, this extensive practice develops good sentence writing habits. There is a useful collection of rules for reference, and students can learn in or out of the classroom. The program not only benefits students, but teachers as well. The students are now responsible for their learning. The responsibility is not on the teachers. There is very little teacher time required since it is self-paced and self-checking. and it's easy for teachers to monitor student progress. The program includes controlled practice created by experienced teachers, a clean, uncluttered design with no advertising to distract students, clear, simple explanations and examples, more than 2,500 complete sentences to practice. The material from earlier lessons is reintegrated in future lessons for additional practice. And the program works on any device, including mobile phones. Because Get This Right focuses on the sentence level, it's appropriate for intermediate through advanced learners in a variety of situations. This parallel practice can be added to an existing curriculum. It can be used to create a separate class, or it can be assigned as independent practice. I'm going to go to our Get This Right website to share with you the list of lessons that we offer. This is our home page, and I just would like to point out that at the bottom, at the bottom of the home page, we have a video which explains how students work in Get This Right. But right now we're going to the lessons link here at the top to take a look at the material that's included in all these 2,500 sentences. Notice that the lessons present similar types of activities. There are grammar rules and examples with a lot of practice, a review, a writing practice, a quiz, and the final activity is always called a Get This. In addition to topics like be and punctuation in Lesson 1, students practice capitalization and punctuation, singular and plural nouns. Lesson 4 is pretty challenging. It talks about possessives, and students have a lot of practice using possessives. Lesson 5 is about present continuous tense. In Lesson 6, they work on prepositions of place and time, specifically in, on, and at, because that's often a challenge. Students practice combining ideas, and here we give them very small pieces of information to practice and build as they go. So you'll see that Lesson 7 is very long, but we take them in baby steps. Lesson 8 is about count and non-count nouns. Lesson 9, students practice simple present tense. In Lesson 10, they work on indefinite pronouns. Again, a very challenging lesson, but one that they need. And the final lesson at this point is on simple past tense. Some lessons are easy, and some are more difficult. So I'm going to take you back to the PowerPoint so that we can look at a lesson in more detail. Here you can see that the student has completed some activities, and each completed activity is dated and checked off. The next available activity is indicated with an arrow. So these are complete, this one is the next one to be done, and the rest are closed. These activities that are completed have been done with 100% accuracy, which is very important that the students complete these so that the next activity will open. The rest will not. Teachers can easily see the students' progress by just looking at their lessons list. In addition to rules and examples of grammar and punctuation, there are often notes to give extra information or clarification. Some students may study the examples first and then look at the rules, while others are more comfortable studying rules first and then studying the examples. Either way is fine. Along with the directions, there are always given items that illustrate the practice that follows. Learners are encouraged to study the rules, the examples, the notes, the directions, and the given items. This will help them successfully complete each activity. Students now have the opportunity to learn the names of parts of speech and understand the basics of grammar and sentence structure in very simple language. You can see there's no advertising, there are no distractions here. And with this, they begin to feel more confident with each new lesson. It's surprising and pleasing when even more advanced learners comment on learning something they didn't know before and say, "Why didn't someone tell me?" Notice the directions and the given item, which is marked always by this black triangle. The students study these, and then it's their turn to write in the text box, in the first text box that's available to them. As they work, students can complete all of the items at once, or they can check them by clicking the OK button. In example 2, the OK button showed that this sentence has shading on it. The gray shading shows the correct part of the sentence, and the yellow shading begins with the first mistake. We don't give the students the answers. We want them to think and understand what their mistake was. It could be a typing error, it could be a grammar error, it could be a punctuation error, but we want the students to think and to fix it. So once they've revised their sentence, they can click the OK button again. And here you see that same item number 2. The student did make some revisions, but there is still yellow shading. So once the student has corrected this error, and again clicked the OK button, no shading will appear, and that means that the sentence is correct. Sentence 3 never showed any shading because it was always correct. Every activity has one item that has a little happy face and gives 3 choices to the student. They must select the word that works correctly with the other words in the sentence to make it a logical idea. And this is another way for students to think and have to put to practice what they're learning as they write. You can see this is the bottom of the lesson, and there are buttons that will check all. So if a student wants to complete all of the activities at once, they can then check them by clicking the check all button. Or, as many students do, they click the OK button after each sentence and check as they go. If a student has a lot of mistakes, they may choose to clear all their answers away and repeat it, and they can do this as many times as they wish until they feel comfortable and until there is no shading in any of their sentences. The final closeout is to check all and then click on the finished button. And the finished button will lock in their answers and will take them back to the lessons list where the next activity will then be open. Remember that it must have 100% accuracy before the next activity will open. So this page shows that the student has completed these activities. As I said, the teacher can check it at any time very easily. You'll notice here at the top there's a My Rules tab, which students can use to reference the rules of previous lessons completed. So if they want to go back and rethink or reread something, they can do that very easily by clicking on the My Rules tab, where they will see the lesson or the rule boxes for those completed lessons. They won't see the exercises, but they will see the rule boxes. So they can go back and forth between the two windows to write and to study. This is an example of a writing practice where students see a set of incomplete sentences that are then written in a box following the directions as they're given here. This is to help them understand what paragraph form looks like. So it's not just a list of sentences like a list you take to the supermarket. It has a flow from one line to the next, and they need that practice. And then they receive a set of incomplete sentences of their own to write in the text box below, following the directions that are given. It's not exactly the same as the example, but it does follow the same pattern. As I said before, when we were looking at the lessons list, every lesson finishes with a get this. And the get this for lesson 5 is one on entering and exiting transportation. This focuses on a topic that students need special practice with, and includes topics like dates, holidays, abbreviations, homophones, things that will help to improve their writing in other ways. When a student has finished all of Get This Right, they receive a certificate of completion. And certainly if, as we add more lessons, currently there are 11, but as more lessons are added, they can return to Get This Right, continue to work, and receive an updated certificate of completion. Teachers who wish to manage their students as a group can arrange for access to the administrative side of our program. This allows them to see the login times and the progress, the lessons completed of their students, and they can see them all listed as a group. If a teacher wants to see an individual student's progress, they can use this clock icon to see a specific student's login dates and times, the lessons they've completed, and the hours that they've used to do that. Many teachers have to report time on task or hours worked, and if students are working independently outside of class, they may want to use this activity log to put in the dates and filter for the total hours within that scope of dates to use for reporting. All in all, the best way to learn about Get This Right is to try Lesson 1 for free. We encourage students and teachers to try Lesson 1, those 10 activities, to see how the program works and how it can improve student writing. There are many ways to contact us, and we love hearing from students and teachers about their feelings about Get This Right, how it's helped them, or questions they may have. This is my email address if you would like to contact me and share your thoughts or follow up with questions in the future. So Yelena, I'm looking for my picture. Am I here?
Yes, you are here, and you are sharing your presentation again. And
Okay.
also there are some pictures of our other 19 participants.
And I would like to come back to my picture. Is that there?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, I want to assure all of the participants that Get This Right can help your students build confidence in their ability to write better sentences in English. It puts the students in control of their learning, and it frees you as the teacher to focus on other activities that work best in the class or in small groups. Get This Right is being used in middle school, high school, university, and adult programs, and it can help your students too. And at this point, I'd like to open up for questions. Yelena, if you'd help me with that. Yelena, are you speaking?
Sorry, I muted myself not to. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a question from Cheryl. On the website, where does a person go to sign up?
That's an excellent question. And let me take you back to
And dear participants, please, if you have, sorry, if you have a question, please unmute yourself, or you can write your questions in the chat.
all right, to sign up for the program, on any page on our website, there is a red sign up tab. And by clicking on this sign up tab, will take you here where you can sign up for the free trial of lesson 1 without subscribing, or subscribe where you for $25 for one student. And if you're interested in group pricing, you can click on this group pricing tab, and it will take you to this page that explains how the price decreases as the number of licenses increases. And there is more information about group management by clicking this download button here.
So this is a very interesting information. Thank you so much. So if it is 100 plus members, then it will be only $10 a year.
That's correct. No, it's $10. Yes.
Okay, so our mailing list for English teachers is over 200. So I guess we should all subscribe. And then this is a very good price for all of us.
Well, we want to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
And my next question is that, so is this subscription for teachers or students?
And the answer is yes. It is for teachers and for students, because a student needs to have their own license so that the program can monitor their progress and keep track of the lessons completed and provide the record keeping for the teacher. So each student needs an individual license. And certainly teachers can have licenses too.
Okay. So we have a question from Yulia. How can we use the benefits of the site to increase the practice of handwriting as well?
That's an interesting question, and I've seen teachers Get This Right in many different ways. Perhaps having a projection of a lesson or an activity on a screen where students can look at it and they can write in their notebooks can help improve their handwriting. Any way that students are writing, whether it's with a keyboard or with a pen or a pencil, will improve it, because it creates muscle memory where the hand and the mind are connected, And practice is what creates the habit. And practice is what we seem to lack in a lot of materials today. So we encourage teachers to find the best way for their students to improve their writing in whatever way works for them.
Okay, thank you so much. So are there any other questions? Because I have a lot of questions, but I want to give the chance other participants to ask them. So if you don't want to write in the chat, you can unmute yourself and write and ask it. So there is a question from Baluza. Are there any materials to prepare students for Ielts writing?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I know what that is.
So Ielts is something like TOEFL test. This is an academic English test that students take when they apply for American or British or some other foreign university.
Yes. I would say that this is not preparation for an advanced test like TOEFL or that IELTS test.
Mm-hmm.
It is intended to create a foundation, a beginning to build on, so that if students understand the basics of grammar and capitalization and punctuation, they can expand their knowledge as they study for those tests. If they don't have the basics, though, it's a struggle to try to understand the more advanced grammar and prepare for those tests. So this is really intended to as a beginning place. Like building a house, you build the foundation first, and the walls and the roof come later. So that would be my suggestion, is that this kind of practice can help students fill in the gaps if they have them, and then it makes the studying easier later.
Okay, thank you so much, and I agree with you. I think there is no use for IELTS or TOEFL preparation unless the student is B2 minimum, like yes, intermediate or upper intermediate. So there is a comment from Svetlana, no question yet, but thanks for information. The site is useful and it's available for everybody because the price is a good one. So do you have any other questions? So Michael, may I ask a question, and maybe other participants will have some other questions too. So it is connected with the previous question about IELTS preparation. So at the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that this Get This Right can also be used by adults, and when they are learning how to write emails, because there are a lot of professionals now who are contacting me and asking me to help them to learn like writing practice, to be able to correspond with their foreign colleagues and maybe foreign administrators and supervisors who are like English language native speakers. So how can Get This Right be used for this purpose?
I think when I talked about adult learners, there are two groups, and one is the group of students that I primarily worked with, which were refugees and immigrants coming to the United States and trying to make a life and learn the language quickly. And another group is the group you describe, who are working in international business, having to deal across languages. And it is challenging because we're looking at content, the words and the ideas of the email or the report, and we're also looking at form, which is the capitalization, the punctuation, the basic grammar rules. And I think for the adults that you've described, Elena, we're I'm offering the same answer that I basically gave before about taking the test. If a student has a good foundation, they can add the vocabulary of their situation and expand on it more comfortably. But if they're struggling with the foundational writing, the basics, and they don't have the form correctly presented, then it doesn't matter what the content is, because we often are distracted by those form mistakes. So having practice, feeling more confident. It's not a magic answer to everything at every level. It is intended for intermediate through advanced students who need to be more confident and fill in the gaps that they don't currently have in their writing and their understanding of basic grammar. And then the rest, I think, will come. And I've seen that with my own students, that once they've overcome the hurdle of being afraid and insecure, they are much more willing to try and expand their writing abilities in new situations and with new vocabulary. So I hope that answers your question. I think that it's appropriate in a variety of situations.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing this point about like placement test for like new learners that you spoke at the beginning, because now I think all of our teachers who are present here, when we have placement test, or when we give placement test, we actually check listening skills, vocabulary, grammar, but we hardly ever check writing.
Yes, and even though a student or 2 or 3 students may have similar oral skills, and in our program as well, we tested only oral skills for placement, and that was the level across the board for reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And time again, it was evident that oral skills, yes, can be addressed easily, but writing skills are very personal, they're very individual, and depending on the experience, a student could be a very low literate student and still be very proficient in their speaking. And you don't see that at the same level in their writing. And it can be embarrassing. The advantage of having an individualized program that's self-paced and self-checking is very face-saving, in that students of many levels can be working together in the same computer lab or the same classroom, and each of them is doing what they need to do for themselves. And one student may do an activity once and be comfortable with it, and another student may have to repeat it 10 times, but that's okay, because that's what they need. And it's not possible for teachers to allow that kind of flexibility in a classroom where everyone usually works at the same pace on the same thing. So what we've offered here is that opportunity for practice to build habits and take students where they are and move them forward. And you're absolutely right, that challenge of assessment, and even if you try to assess their writing and group them at similar levels, they're still going to be very different.
Yeah, thank you so much. So dear participants, please write your questions or your comments in the chat. So if we want, for example, if we want to subscribe, we just go to this website and click sign up button. So what do we do if we are like more than 100? So soon our like academic year at the university will start, and if I share this information with our teachers and students, and if we are more than 100, how will you register us as a group?
That's an excellent question. On our website, when you go to the group pricing information, there is a link there to contact us, and you can just write us and tell us what you need. Oftentimes, institutions, schools, prefer to send a purchase order, and they can send a purchase order to us through contact us or directly to me at my email address. Okay. And I will send an invoice which goes through PayPal and allows for conversion of international money. And there's a link right on the PayPal invoice to pay directly to them. So it's very simple. It's just a few clicks, and once we receive the payment, we authorize the group and send the group account administrator the login information to begin setting up the group members. So it's very, and of course, at any time, both Cheryl and I are available for questions and help along the way. We are the people who answer contact us, and we are certainly wanting to support teachers who are trying to help their students, because it's how we can help students in the best way possible.
Okay, I've got an idea now. So our mailing list for teachers of professional development webinars is over 200 now. What if all those teachers, not all, but some of those teachers will decide to sign up, but we are not one, we are based in and placed or located in different Kazakhstan cities. So do you have any solution for us to put us in a group?
Well, if there is a way that we can work things out, we will certainly try to figure that out. Right at this moment, I'm not finding the answer to that question, but we can certainly talk about how that might work out.
Okay, I'm just offering our webinar participants today, and also those who will watch the recording, to try like free version or trial
absolutely.
version.
Right.
And then if you like this app or this resource or this product, you can contact me and maybe we can organize some group subscription.
That sounds like an excellent plan.
Yeah, and actually there are some comments from the chat. Perfect, thank you. Because you know what, our currency in Kazakhstan unfortunately is becoming weaker and weaker, and US dollar is growing every day, but our salary of teachers is still in our local currency. So I think if we are a group, we can, so yeah, the participants' rights. I like your idea, Elena. Thank you. So if we can group in one group, we can get a very good discount, and I'm sure that the participants and the teachers and the students will be very happy to use this resource, because I find it very useful and amazing.
Yes, and sometimes it may not be convenient or appropriate for a teacher to get a multiple number of licenses for their students, but they may have one or another student who wants more help or needs more practice, has time, and if they would like to refer that student to our website, the student could certainly sign up directly.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so participants like my idea, so please contact me. You have my email, and we will organize some group. And before you do that, you can try the free trial version.
That's the best way.
Okay, so any other questions or comments for Joellen? Thank you so much for sharing this resource and this product with us, because I think, yeah, there are some comments. Nice, excellent, thank you. Because I think this is a very useful resource for us and for English teachers in Kazakhstan, because unfortunately writing is the skill which is given less attention of all the four skills being taught in English. And I think we should give more attention to that. And because a lot of students, actually a lot of people communicate by writing now. They're chatting, texting, emailing, messaging, and yeah.
It's absolutely true, and not just in Kazakhstan. It's an international problem, and not only with learners of new language, but we find the same with our students in American schools who grow up speaking English. They also struggle with writing, and teachers also struggle with how to incorporate time for practice. So I think it is a universal problem. And I hope that Get This Right can be a beginning of a solution. And I want to thank you, Elena, and all of you who participated today for letting me share information about Get This Right. And I wish you all the best as your students become better writers in English.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a couple of more comments. So Zhibek, useful, thanks a lot. Firoza, thanks a lot for your information. And thank you so much, Joelle and Cheryl, for sharing this information with us. I'm so happy that I stopped by your booth or your table at TESOL convention. And finally, we have a webinar and we can share this information with the world and other teachers in the world.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity, so thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I will send you the recording of this webinar and the feedback form, so don't forget to complete it. And then Joellen will, I'm sure she will be happy to read your comments and provide the answers to your questions if you have any. So there is one more comment. Joellen's speech is very nice and understandable. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so have a nice evening, and you ladies have a nice day, and talk to you soon.
You as
Bye-bye.
well. Bye.